Somewhere out on the North Atlantic, a man once sailed from Newfoundland to England in a boat that measured 5 feet 4 inches long, shorter than the average couch. He couldn't lie down flat. He couldn't stand up. And he made it. Now, most people assume that crossing an ocean takes a huge yacht, a $1 million hull, a paid crew, a wall of electronics. It doesn't. The truth is that size is one of the most overrated things in sailing. What actually keeps a boat alive out in the open ocean isn't length, it's design. The shape of the hull, the weight of the ballast sitting down low, a cockpit that drains itself, and a keel that refuses to trip. Get those things right, and a tiny boat can carry you anywhere on Earth. In this video, we're counting down 8 of the smallest boats that have genuinely crossed oceans, boats small enough to sail alone and tough enough to shrug off weather that sinks bigger ships. We start at number 8. Number 8, the Bristol Channel Cutter 28. At just 28 feet on deck, this little cutter is one of the most respected ocean boats ever built, and there's a story behind that. Its designer, Lyle Hess, drew it from the same bloodline as Seraphim, the tiny cutter that Lynn and Larry Pardey sailed around the world and made famous with the phrase, "Go small, go simple, go now." The Bristol Channel Cutter took that idea and turned it into fiberglass. Underneath, it's all business. A heavy, full-keel hull, weight carried low, and a cutter rig that lets you break the sail plan into small, manageable pieces when the wind pipes up. Exactly what you want 1,000 miles from land. And these boats have earned their name the hard way. One owner, Roger Olson, sailed his Bristol Channel Cutter roughly 50,000 miles over 13 years across 2 oceans. Others have taken them solo around the entire globe. It's small, it's slow, and it will outlast almost anything afloat, but the next boat proves you don't need to spend a fortune to cross an ocean. Number 7, the Albin Vega 27. If the Bristol Channel Cutter is the expensive legend, the Vega is the people's ocean boat. Built in Sweden between the mid-60s and the late 70s, more than 3,400 of them were made, which is exactly why, today, they're some of the most affordable Bluewater boats on the water. Don't let the modest price fool you. The Vega has a long keel with the ballast sealed low in the hull, and a shape that traces straight back to the tough Scandinavian folk boat. It was built for cold, ugly seas, and the resume is staggering for a 27-footer. At least a dozen of them have circled the planet, but the voyage that stops people cold is Matt Rutherford's. He sailed a decades-old, donated Albin Vega alone and nonstop all the way around both American continents, up through the ice of the Northwest Passage and back around Cape Horn. 27,000 miles. 309 days. No stops, no port calls. In a boat you could buy today for the price of a used car. The next one takes that same small and tough idea and adds a twist you won't see coming. Number 6, the North Sea 27. And here's the twist. This is a true, proven ocean crosser that you can load onto a trailer and tow home. It's another Lyle Hess design, built to a brutal brief. Big boat seaworthiness in a hull narrow enough, just 8 feet wide, to legally travel down the highway. Hess pulled it off. The hull is solid, hand-laid fiberglass, molded in overlapping lapstrake layers for extra stiffness, with over 3,000 pounds of ballast locked into the keel. This is no lightweight beach toy. It's a heavy, serious little ship that just happens to fit on a trailer. And it's got the record to prove it. 4 North Sea 27s have circumnavigated the globe, and owners have logged more than 160 Atlantic and Pacific crossings between them. One sailor, Ed Gillett, took his out across open ocean from California toward Hawaii. Think about what that means. Spend the winter cruising the Bahamas, then tow the very same boat across the country and sail it on the Pacific. That's the North Sea's whole magic. The next boat is smaller still, and it carried a teenager all the way around the world. Number 5, the Contessa 26, just 25.5 feet, low and narrow, with a deep, full keel and nearly half of its weight down in ballast. This is a proper little seaboat in a very small package. It made its name in brutal offshore races, like the single-handed transatlantic, but it became a legend because of one voyage. In 1985, an 18-year-old named Tanya Abbey cast off from New York on a Contessa 26 called Varuna, with barely any sailing experience and a cat for company. 2.5 years and 27,000 miles later, she sailed home, one of the youngest people ever to circle the world alone. Her final leg alone tells you what this boat can take: 3,000 miles non-stop across the North Atlantic from Gibraltar to New York. 52 days at sea, at one point wrongly reported lost. The Contessa is wet, it's cramped, and it heels over hard the moment the wind fills in. But it steadies up and it just keeps going. Small boat, enormous ocean, and it never let her down. The next boat comes from one of the most respected names in small ocean cruisers. Number 4, the Pacific Seacraft Dana 24. Pacific Seacraft built its entire reputation on heavy, beautifully made ocean boats. And the Dana is their pocket-sized flagship. At just 24 feet, it carries a full keel, a deep forefoot, and the kind of overbuilt hull you'd normally only find on a boat twice its length. Step below and it feels like a far bigger yacht. Real headroom, a proper galley, and a sea berth you can actually sleep in when it's rough. That's the Dana's trick. It hands you the guts of a serious offshore cruiser without the length, the cost, or the crew that a big boat demands. Owners have taken these across oceans and out to remote islands, and the boat has a genuine cult following precisely because it's small enough for one person to handle, yet strong enough to trust when the forecast falls apart. It holds its value like almost nothing else its size, which tells you just how badly people want them. If you want a go-anywhere boat that still fits a single pair of hands, this is near the top of the list. But the next boat proves you can go even smaller and still tow it behind your truck. Number 3, the Falmouth Cutter 22. This is Lyle Hess again, the little sister to that Bristol Channel Cutter from earlier. And it might just be the most boat ever packed into 22 feet. Hess drew her around old British pilot boat lines, heavy displacement, a huge press of sail spread out on a long bowsprit and boomkin, and enough encapsulated lead ballast to keep her stiff and upright when it's really honking. The result is a tiny cutter that punches massively above her size, genuinely able to carry 2 people across an ocean in safety. And like the North Sea, she's narrow enough to trailer, which means this ocean-crossing pocket ship can be hauled up the highway to a brand new ocean whenever the mood takes you. She's slow, she's snug, and the people who own them almost never let go. You can always spot one in a marina by the little crowd of admirers standing around it. The next boat is shorter still, and it's the one that broke people's brains for decades. Number 2, the Flicka 20. 20 feet, read that again, 20 feet. And this boat has crossed oceans, ridden out serious storms, and even survived grounding on reefs with barely a scratch. Designed by Bruce Bingham from the lines of 19th century New England workboats, the Flicka is short, but she is heavy and immensely strong for her size, with a full keel and a high ballast ratio that make her stiff and stubborn in a blow. Go below, and the trick reveals itself. Nearly 6 feet of headroom and the living space of a boat 6 feet longer because Bingham built the volume up and out instead of long. Bingham himself lived aboard and cruised his own Flicka thousands of miles, and hundreds of owners have followed with epic passages of their own. She's loved enough to have a real cult around her. And yes, she's trailerable too. For most people, a genuine ocean boat at 20 feet is where the story would end. But there's one more, and it makes every other boat on this list look enormous. Number 1, Father's Day. Not a class, not a production boat, a single home-built vessel measuring 5 feet, 4 inches long. That's it, shorter than the man who sailed her. In 1993, a 61-year-old former airline captain and Korean War veteran named Hugo Whelan climbed into this little red plywood box in Newfoundland and pointed it at England. He couldn't lie down flat. He slept on his back with his knees bent, waking every hour to check his heading, and the only way to stretch his legs was to stand up, when the weather allowed it. He was out there for more than 100 days. He lost 34 pounds. He rode out everything the North Atlantic could throw at a 5-foot boat, and he made it to Falmouth, setting the record for the smallest boat ever to cross the Atlantic Ocean, a record that still stands today. And that's the whole point of this list, sitting in one tiny hull. Wieland didn't cross an ocean because his boat was big. He crossed it because it was built to survive, and because he refused to quit. Size was never the thing standing between him and the horizon. So there they are, 8 of the smallest boats that have actually crossed oceans, from a 28-foot legend all the way down to a 5-foot record breaker. And every single one of them is telling you the same quiet truth. The thing that carries you across an ocean isn't length, and it isn't money. It's a boat built the right way. And the nerve to cast off the dock lines. If any of these little ships lit something up in you, then you need to see this next, because a small boat will only take you as far as it's tough enough to go. And I made a whole video on the boats built to survive the absolute worst the ocean can throw at them. It's right here, and it's the perfect next watch. And if you want more straight talk about boats that punch far above their size, subscribe. The boat that changes everything for you might just be in the next video. I'll see you there.